Hi everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author and welcome back to my channel. I write young adult fiction across a variety of genres, and if you think that might interest you, then think about subscribing below. I also have a coffee shop with signed paperbacks and swag, which is also linked below. I'm known as someone who's exceptionally organised, and while I think, for me at least, some of that is an innate ability I was born with, there are ways to learn how to organise your life, whether that's personal or working life. I will say that for some people, all the good intent in the world is just not going to change that they can't get organised, and it's not a flaw in them at all, their brains just don't work that way. So with that said, let me give you some of my tips and tricks for getting organised. Number 1, track for a while. I start with this because one of the things a lot of people struggle with when starting to get organised is they don't have any idea what they're spending their day doing, nor how long it takes them. Now you all know that I track my working time, or most of it at least, but I didn't start doing that until like 2021, I think. It's not a case of having to be strict with the timing. I like the stats and like being able to see it at a glance how long something took me, but you don't have to go to that extreme. Start by making a list of what you spend your hours doing. If you want to know times, do that. If you don't. But do this for a long while, because a short space of time isn't going to give you all the information that you need. You want to have a good idea of where your time is going and what you're struggling to get done and why. So like if you know that you wanted to write at this time, but you don't know where the time went, this is where tracking comes in to save you. It can sometimes give you an idea of how much time to put aside to do a certain task, and that can be really useful. Even if you only do this for a couple of weeks or a month, it's a place to start. It allows you to see at somewhat of a glance where your time is going and why. And from there you can make the most of the time you have and focus on the tools you need to get the things done. Number 2, planning is a good tool. I've always been a planner, but I wasn't a planner to the level I am now until like 2020, when I found a planner that worked for me. Saying that, I've always had lists and deadlines and ways to keep on top of what was needed. It just wasn't to the degree that I do planning now. Planning can be a really useful tool to allow you to set aside time, however you choose to do that, and get things done. There are so many ways to plan, and I'm not going to go into them all here because that would take forever. You can make a spread, or you can use a digital planner, you can find ways to block out your time, and all the many tools that you can use to get your time and such planned out. While it's not for everyone, I found that since I started using a planner and the calendar on my iPad, I've been able to really hone in on what I can manage in a work day and how to make sure that I get the most done. Number 3, color coding is an option. This was me as a teen, color coding my timetable and then later my revision planner for exams and stuff. I still do this to some extent in that my planner has a whole array of colours so that I can at a glance know what's on the docket for the day. I do it to some degree with my iPad planning too, but there are fewer colours available and it's not always an option. But this is a way just to make sure that of not just having a pretty spread, but also allowing you to see what work is going to need to be done and when. It also allows you to make it more suited to you, and I don't think that's a bad idea. At the end of the day, how you choose to organise is up to you, but I think making it easy on yourself is a really good idea. And number 4, be kind to yourself. It wouldn't be a Joey video if I didn't delve into this, but I see it so much online, the idea that we have to be super organised and super productive, otherwise we're not valid. I don't just mean in writing, and it's heartbreaking to see it because, like I said, for some people it's just not possible. When I do videos like this, it's not to shame people into getting organised, it's purely to help. If it's something you can use, great, and if not, that's okay too. So no matter where you fall, just remember to be kind to yourself and know that these things can take time, can take a lot of trial and error, and also just cannot work. And that's not a failing on your part. Take risks, don't oversubscribe yourself to work, and just be kind to yourself. It's a very important thing to remember. So there we go, those are my tips when it comes to getting organised. Like I said, I've always been someone who is innately organised. It's just the way my brain works, and it helps quiet the anxiety for me. But I know that it's not something that works for absolutely everybody, and everybody has a different organising strategy, and for me this is what works for me, but that doesn't mean that it will necessarily work for you. So how do you organise yourself? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all I've got time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment, like, or subscribe. I post videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media, and my books are available everywhere. You can also support me in my coffee shop, and you can also sign up for my newsletter. And don't forget to pre-order Crime Chronicles The Fourth Torment, which is the fourth in a young adult urban fantasy series. And if you do pre-order, don't forget to grab the swag. And also don't forget to grab a ticket for Sugar Pages in Bristol in November, where I'll be signing books. All the links for which are listed below. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep writing. Bye.